The Hooligans, a group of 51 fans, a nod to his jersey number, earned plenty of screen time on the scoreboard after wearing matching white t-shirts, which they said Hooligans. The Giants made a Jung Hoo Lee cheering section this year called the Jung Hoo Crew.
Oh, so this is like an alt situation. You can imagine like they saw the Hooligan and someone in Giants marketing is like, damn it.
Hello and welcome to Baseball Barbacast, the only baseball podcast in the world. Who knows that Angels in the Outfield was a documentary? I'm Jake Mintz. That's Jordan Shusterman, and Matthew McConaughey really did make that play.
The original Netflix doc is Angels in the Outfield. That was a real behind-the-scenes look at a very real baseball team, as we've talked about on this show. When we had the director from EFIS on. We don't really like baseball movies that much. However, Angels in the Outfield is a rare exception. It is one that we both quite enjoy. And now, with the Angels of Anaheim, of Los Angeles, of Disney World, being the only team in the 2025 Major League Baseball season yet to lose a series after the Phillies fell after midnight in Atlanta, our opener today on this Friday edition of Baseball Barbacast is the Angels.
I don't believe in this franchise. That is an ideology tattooed into my bones. It is a belief that runs deep, deep within me, and I believe deep, deep within you. That is not a reality that brings me joy. I take no glee from seeing the Angels and never thinking that they have a chance to be competitive. That is a belief built by years of ineptitude and bad spending and organizational incompetence. I want to believe, I don't believe, and yet so far this season, this team, at the very least, has provided reasons for optimism. As Jordan said, they are the only club to win every single one of their Serie so far this season. Let's dig into what in the God's world is going on in Orange County.
So I think an important place to start is the fact that the Angels aren't even in first place. They are still half game behind the Rangers, and that is because while they have won all four of the series that they have played, which again, no other team can say, they also have not swept any of them. Let us recall that this season began for the Angels with Nicky Lopez pitching on opening day against the White Sox. And we were like, all right, here we go again. We're on our way to 100 losses. This is the most embarrassing franchise in baseball. The longest postseason drought in MLB will continue surely. And then they bounce back. They win the series in Chicago. They win a series in St. Louis. They win a series at home, their first home series and the only home series they've played so far against Cleveland. Cleveland, how good are they? You know, coming off a postseason appearance, that was at the end of a long road trip for Cleveland, but they win that series. And then they go down to the Stein, where it's always, this is the weirdest part about this whole, Rays playing in the minor league, is when you see the teams that play in Arizona, play in this, Grapefruit League stadium.
What are you doing
very
there?
Strange.
Get out of there.
See, I remember thinking about this. This was the same feeling when the Jays were playing in Dunedin. I believe we had a similar situation. So same kind of thing, but they go down to Tampa. They lose a really close one on Wednesday, but they blow them out on Thursday. I believe they hit 6 home runs on Thursday, which brings them to third in baseball in home runs. That includes 2 from that Mike Trout fellow, who we can talk about here in a second.
Good player.
Those are the series wins, right? White Sox, Cardinals on the road, Guardians at home, Rays on the road. Their road trip continues. They now go to the Astros and the Rangers, which is a nice little divisional matchup. So what has gone well? What has worked for the Angels this year? I think is a good place to start. What baseball players are playing good baseball for this franchise that has not played a lot of it over the last 10 years?
I mean, I think we have to start, as we thought we would, with Kyren Paris, who has a 1485 OPS, 5 home runs, 4 steals, a nice crisp 1,000 slugging percentage, and an adjusted OPS 219 points above league average. Now, none of this is sustainable for even the godliest of men, but there does seem to be something interesting brewing here with Kyren Paris. Jordan, let's give everybody a little bit of background on who Kyren Paris is, and then we can talk about whether we believe this will continue.
So Kyren Paris was their second round pick out of a California high school way back in 2019. And he was one of the youngest players in the draft at that point. Kind of the guys, you bet on. Teams really like to draft high schoolers who are young for their class because it means if they're competing and succeeding against their older peers, even relative to their fellow high schoolers, that portends an advanced aptitude for the game and also a longer runway for development as a young player. Because generally, if you are, and this is still true, right? I mean, he was drafted a long time ago. He's still only 23. That's because it's usually a slow burn with these kinds of prospects. And earlier in his career, of course, immediately loses a year to COVID, and so that kind of puts him back. But he's still only 19. And in the low minors, like he's playing pretty well. He's becoming a solid prospect, not necessarily one of the top prospects in baseball, but for a second round high schooler, like it was going pretty well. And then he gets to the big leagues at age 21, as the Angels often do. He doesn't even go to AAA. He skips past AAA in 2023. And in 2023, he gets to the big leagues and he falls on his face, right? He doesn't hit at all. And then last year, it's even worse. He hit 167 in 60 minor league games. He had some injuries. They were still putting him in the big leagues for some of it. He hit 118 in 21 big league games. Like, he was 22, so it's not like you were dooming him forever. But this seemed like a case of, the Angels, they got too aggressive with one of their players that seemed to be on a decent track, and now he's paying the price. Maybe he'll carve out a role as a utility guy. He's got some speed. He's got some athleticism, some defensive versatility.
The impact is gone.
The impact is gone. There's no reason to expect him to be an above average hitter. Like maybe he will fill a role, or he's just going to have to go back to the minors and like make up for the time that the Angels did not give him as development.
Sure.
This spring, he shows up and he's just a different player. He was not going to be coming into the spring. There was no reason to expect Kyren Paris to make the opening day roster. And my understanding, based on the way our good friend Sam Blum has talked about it, is that his kind of ascent during spring training is part of why they decided to ditch Mickey Moniak.
Correct.
Because Kyren Paris has played a lot of shortstop and second base, but he's also played center field over the past couple of years. And with Mike Trout moving to right field, the team wanted to kind of have another center field option in addition to Joe Adell, and Kyren Paris has been that.
All right, so he has 5 home runs so far this season, rewarding the Angels' faith in him. Now, the other layer to this is Aaron Judge. More specifically, Aaron Judge's personal hitting coach, a gentleman named Richard, I believe it's pronounced Skank.
I think it is Skank. Yeah, it looks like Shank.
Schenck, Richard Skank, also known as Teacher Man online. Now, for those of you who are like in the weeds on baseball hitting stuff, you know about Teacher Man. I would describe him, controversial is a good way to start the conversation. He is abrasive online. He is looking for smoke in a way that is often off-putting and just not for me.
His social media presence is fascinating for many reasons. I mean, he'll like be tweeting like when teams are like struggling to hit, he'll just show up and start tweeting at them, be like, I'm here to help.
I'll be your hitting coordinator.
Yeah, like I get, and so, but the fact that he has this
he's gotten himself into hot waters various times over the years because when the Yankees are doing poorly, he'll tweet a picture of Josh Donaldson swinging, or Jason Dominguez struggling, or like Oswald Peraza, and he'll be like, send him to me and I'll fix him, or something like that, right? And because he essentially helped build Aaron Judge, he has heft. Whether or not you believe in what he's saying or agree with the way that he's going about it, when you watch Aaron Judge, players are going to be like, I want to talk to the dude who built that. Okay. Mm-hmm. He also did this very similar thing with Kerry Carpenter, who, as you know, I'm a believer in. And when you watch a video of Kyren Paris, who worked with Richard Skank over the winter, and you look at his front, it's really just the front leg and the back hip.
Right.
Okay. The front leg and the back hip for a novice like me is the easiest way to see it. It's straight. The front leg is kind of straight and hovers above the ground, and the player is kind of leaning back onto the back hip in a way that allows you to whip your body, your backside, whip your backside, not your ass, but like your back arm kind of down and up at the same time to create a whip that gets under the baseball and hits it out with authority. Kyren Paris is doing this like this is by the freaking Skank book at this point.
Yes, which is most compelling because Kyren Paris is not a big dude, you know, right. Like to see kind of applying some of the same methodology, the same physical moves that have helped Aaron Judge. It's not a perfect replica, but it is maximizing and kind of making the most of athleticism that Kyren Paris has always had, right?
Right.
And that combined with, I mean, it's not just a swing change or a stance change or whatever, it's an approach change and all these other things. Whatever it is, as we know with hitting, there's all kinds of ways that they unlock these things. Is Kyren Paris going to slug 1,000 for the rest of the season? No. At the same time, the fact that he is, I mean, this is one of those cases where he's already given them more, like you would have set if you had asked what the over-under of home runs that he would have hit in the major leagues this season, optimistically, you would have said like 6 or 7. So
right.
There was no reason to expect him to even be playing this much. And now, obviously, he's off to this great start. So now if we expand this more, because he has been the story in terms of what we have not expected and has certainly contributed already in a very real way to a team that
quickly
is
on him moving forward. Just quickly on him moving forward. Right now, what does this look like? It's because of where he can play defensively, second base and center field, he's pretty much split his time evenly. I mean, it's like a Tommy Edman style value player where you can play him in both spots. If he finishes the year with 20 home runs and can play those two positions, like he's going to be a good player. And whether or not he stays on this pace is almost irrelevant. Like he's given the Angels something that feels tangible and real besides Mike Trout. Let's talk about what else is going well, though.
Yes. So the other parts of this team, as we know, the Angels have kind of rushed their players to the big leagues very quickly, guys that they've immediately drafted. That has had some success with guys like Zach Neto, who is coming back from injury and has yet to play a game this season. That is a reason for excitement because quickly something that's not going well, Tim Anderson, bless his heart, playing some good defense, still not hitting whatsoever, right? He has been one of basically the worst hitter on this team. And so Neto will, in all likelihood, replace him. Honestly, what's interesting to me is if Neto did not exist, would Kyren Paris just be playing shortstop? You know, would we just be seeing him over there? But instead, they're going to keep him kind of bouncing between second and center field, which makes sense. But Neto has not played, but Logan O'Hoppe, of course, they got in the trade with the Phillies. He had an awesome start to last season and then just totally tanked, whether that was injuries, whether that was fatigue. Both of those things happen with young catchers. He is off to a very strong season offensively. He's striking out a lot, but he is definitely supplying some power. And then Nolan Schanuel is the really interesting one. This is another guy who they zoomed to the big leagues, has this very advanced approach from a contact and discipline standpoint. But for a first baseman, I mean, truly like bottom of the scale raw power, which makes him one of the stranger profiles in baseball. But he's already started to show some aptitude. Doesn't even have a home run yet, but now his power appears to be merely slightly below average as opposed to like Luis Arraez levels, which is just ridiculous for an everyday first baseman if you're not hitting, 350. And so he is getting on base and has been solid and has showed a little bit increased raw power. So that's going pretty well. Taylor Ward, he had a couple home runs yesterday. Overall line isn't quite good yet. Adele has been solid. Jorge Soler striking out a lot, but he's also hitting with some power. And then, Trout, man. Trout's up to 5 homers as well. We like Mike Trout. He's playing right field.
Big fan.
He's playing. That's what matters, right? He's playing. Now, he was still playing to this point last season. So I'll really feel better about that once we get into May and June and he's still on the field every day. I honestly have no sense for how he has been defensively and right. I don't really care because if he's going to be on pace for, 30, 40 homers, I think that's what the Angels want to see. So Mike Trout, that has definitely been good. What about on the mound? Because I can think of really 2 things on the mound that have really been going well for them.
So Kyle Hendricks, a gentleman who they signed, and we poo-pooed this because he's 35 and throws 35 miles an hour. It's never good when you're throwing softer than your age. Kyle Hendricks in 11 innings, 2 starts has been really good. Like he has a 1.64 ERA. How sustainable is that? I don't really know. But as far as describing how they've gotten to this point, that's a big piece of it. And then it's Jose Soriano.
Yeah, and this was the guy that I think after last year, you were kind of looking ahead and saying this could be a legitimate anchor of the rotation. Durability has been an issue with him, and for how nasty his stuff is, it's not necessarily always strikeouts, and that still has been true this year. But he's given them, I mean, he's gone deep into all 3 of his games. The stuff still looks really good. If he can hold up over 30 starts, like that is an above average starting pitcher. And then the other thing on the mound that's been going well is that Kenley Jansen looks pretty good, right? He's already got 3 saves, up to 450 in his career. That's been important because the rest of his bullpen, not good. I think they still have a bottom 5 bullpen ERA, even with Kenley Jansen's 5 scoreless innings. One of the most depressing parts of this team is the fact that Reed Detmers has now been just pigeonholed into like low leverage, long relief. Like I don't understand how we ended up in this place with Reed Detmers, and I still kind of hope that either there or somewhere else that we can see a good version of Reed Detmers, the starting pitcher, because that is just frustrating. But yeah, I mean, Kikuchi's given up a bunch of runs. Kokanowitz looks solid. Tyler Anderson, whatever. But it's been enough. We're talking about 12 games, and when you have couple good starting pitchers and an offense that's hitting a bunch of homers, you're going to win a decent number of games.
Angels fans, I know you're listening. You care right now. That's all you ask for, is a reason to be optimistic on April 11th. Think about how many times that wasn't the case. Whether, Mike Trout was hurt or whether the team got off to a terrible start. Again, they have played the Rays, White Sox, Gardos, and the 4th team I can't remember.
The Cardinals.
None of those teams may make the playoffs. Okay. Let's see how they fare on this upcoming road trip with the Rangers and the Astros, and reevaluate.
Who also might not be that good.
No one is good. As Jordan says,
that's really what you got. That's what you're probably really holding on to, is being like, hold on a second. Not only do we maybe not suck, it's that our division might be one of the worst in baseball somehow.
Their over-under entering the season was 71.5.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what we took, but I'm positive we both took the under. Like I have no doubt that we took the under.
I think that is definitely correct.
Would you still take the under?
Yeah, I think I would for now. Is that disrespectful after the conversation we just had? Yeah, of course. But this is the team that more than almost any other just simply does not deserve the benefit of the doubt. We have seen this team start above 500 through April, I think 4 times since during this stretch of not finishing above 500. So I'm going to need to see a lot more. If they are still in first or second place with, well over 500 in the middle of May, I will probably concede the 71.5 under. But at this point, there is still a severe lack of depth that any injury could immediately, unravel. And there are still parts of this team that I don't think are very good. So I'm glad they're playing well right now. I am loving the Kyren Paris breakout. I'm loving Mike Trout. But they would just need to be doing it for so much longer in so many other ways for me to believe.
Angels, Jordan doubts you. However, you'll never know because you're not allowed on your phones.
Good point. Is that the secret? No one's been spending too much time in their phones. All right. Anyway, that's our Angels chat. We will see if they remain the only team to not lose a series over the weekend. Where are they, in Houston or Texas first? They are at the Astros. So there you go. Anything else on the Angels before we take a break?
No, nothing else on the Angels. Just 2 quick notes from the week series, which is we almost had a mop in Boston as Toronto won the first 3 games of that series at Fenway,
and then came dangerously close. I mean, that was a great game too.
Great game.
I know Blue Jays fans not super thrilled with the home plate ump in that game, which is fair, but tough one. And this is why we highlight mops, because it's hard. It's hard.
So hard.
It's really hard to do, especially on the road. And for them to get that close, to feel like, they went down, they take the lead, they do it in the 10th, and then they still end up getting walked off. So
they brought out a bucket of soap. They were ready. Just couldn't.
They were ready. Couldn't quite get it done.
Couldn't mop. The other interesting series over the week was Braves Phillies. Couple of banger ball games on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then just a disgusting, horrible, rain-delayed slog fest last night that had a 3-hour delay and resumed at 11:30 and did not end until 12:30 local time. Marcell Ozuna walk-off home run off Joe Ross. A lot of interesting stuff in that series. Whenever those two teams play, that's going to be compelling. I have something in my good, bad, ugla from that one. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we get back, we will tell you how much we believe in various people. And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. Belief is a malleable thing. Some days you wake up and you believe in a higher power. Some days you wake up and you don't. At least that's the case with me. Belief changes, it wavers depending on what happens around us. Some mornings I look around the world and I don't believe. Some mornings I look around and I see a beautiful flower or a ray of sun or a nice cup of coffee, and I do believe. And on this segment, we're going to break down belief, except we're going to apply it to baseball players. Yesterday, Jordan and I had one of the dumber conversations we have had in a long time. In our attempts to define belief, something that is in some ways undefinable, we came up with a belief scale. And this segment is called I'm a Believer?
So what we have done is we have assembled a group of players off to very hot starts. Honestly, mostly inspired by Kyren Paris, and I guess we could lump him in as our first kind of test subject here. And we tried to come up with a spectrum, a scale of sorts that allows us to communicate the degree to which we believe these players' hot starts will continue, will sustain beyond the 2 weeks of play that we have seen thus far. So we got a selection of hitters, we got a selection of pitchers. We're not going to spend too much time on each one, but the key here is that we have chosen a selection of 5 kind of belief designations, and that will help us distinguish the level to which we believe in these players moving forward. So, Jake, would you like to explain what are our options here when we are declaring our level of belief?
I really enjoyed this as someone who majored in Islamic studies and took quite a large number of religion classes in school. These are terms that once filled my world, and now that I spend my days considering Tyler Soderstrom, they no longer do so. And it was nice to put them back into my life. So on one end of the spectrum, we have atheist, okay, someone who does not believe.
And I do not believe that this is a thing. I do not believe that Kyren Paris will slug 1,000, or do I? Continue.
Next, skeptic. I don't think I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to need some more convincing, but it's possible. It's possible. It might be real.
Agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether I believe.
Yeah.
Listen, do I believe?
Do I?
I don't. I'm opting out.
I'm opting out of declaring one way or the other, which is not as fun for podcast purposes. However, we reserve the right to use it.
According to the Jujul machine, an agnostic is a person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence of nature, of God, or anything beyond material phenomena. Someone who neither believes nor disbelieves in a God or gods. Neither believes nor disbelieves, I think, is the key wording there. The next, very simple, believer. I'm a believer.
Yes.
You hear this all the time in sports commentary. I'm a believer in that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a believer. Do we believe? That's what we'll find out. And then past believer is evangelist. Okay. Evangelist. You believe in player X to such a degree that you are willing to roam the earth, go door to door, knocking, pamphlets in hand, to spread the good word.
Do you have
of
a moment
Player X.
to talk
Do you have a
about
moment?
Spencer Schwellenbach? Yes.
Do you have a moment to
Yes.
talk about this? You believe so deeply that you
Mhm.
are willing to venture out and tell strangers
Mhm.
about how good you think Tyler Soderstrom is. And that is the scale. We toyed around with some other ideas
Mhm.
like zealot.
Mhm.
You know, I'm a zealot, but zealot has almost a violent connotation.
Yeah.
That's like I would
Same with
die for Hunter Green.
Same with fundamentalist. Seemed a little extreme. Didn't need to do that.
On the other end,
we explored some other words that we had concepts we had never even heard of before, right?
misotheist, misotheism,
Yeah.
which is the hatred of the gods.
The hatred of belief. So this is, which honestly, in like this context, is pretty accurate. Like people love being haters. Like people love
This
to
is
go out
very-
of their way to
yeah.
tell people that their favorite player that has hit 600 over the last 10 games, that they suck.
Yeah.
Like that is a lot of modern sports fandom. But listen, this is a mostly positive show. So if we're going to limit it to simply atheism as opposed to farther than that.
Misotheism. Okay, those are our 5 again.
Mhm.
Atheist, skeptic, agnostic, believer, evangelist. And we will begin at the top of the list. We'll start with the hitters. And let's just start with Kyren Paris.
Okay. I am going to go with skeptic. Okay.
Yeah.
Not in that he cannot be a major leaguer of use, but of him being an impact major league player. I am going to need so much for how bad he was last year and for what his struggles, for what his limitations were as a hitter before. I need to see so much more to believe that he is an above average hitter. Now, because of the tangible changes, I think there's a chance that he has indeed unlocked something. But
You're not an atheist.
I'm not saying I do not believe, but I am definitely a skeptic.
You need to see a sign from a higher power that Kyren Paris has higher power.
Yeah, I do. What about you?
I am also a skeptic. I might be a little closer to agnostic just because the physical changes are so drastic.
Okay.
But I'm not someone who ever prefers to opt out of a conversation. That's for damn sure. So I will say skeptic. Next up on the list, Tigers first baseman Spencer Torkelson, the number 1 overall pick in the 2020 draft, had a good year in 2022 where he cranked 30 homers. And then last year was a total nothing with a OPS plus 11 points below league average. We weren't at bust territory. We were bust adjacent, maybe. This year so far,
bound.
He had bust bound. 3 homers, 5 doubles.
Mm-hmm.
He bangs. It took him like 50 games last year to get to 3 homers, and he's done it in like 10. The OPS is over 1,000. Spencer Torkelson, do you believe?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, yes. I think he's walking more. He's hitting the ball hard more consistently. I'm a believer.
I am also a believer.
Yeah, this is one where again the pedigree makes me think that it shouldn't be as hard for him to get back to being an above average hitter. So I'm not saying he is about to fulfill his promise as, you know, maybe generational is a little strong, but one of the more promising college hitting prospects we've seen in the last 10 years. At this point, I think he's probably a little too flawed to become, you know, top 5 first baseman in baseball. But I'm a believer that he can be a very important, good part of this Tigers lineup.
And that's not something that we believed in spring training.
Does not appear that the Tigers did, right?
No, I mean, he was not. And I think that's the change here. That's why I would classify myself as a believer. I think next spring we enter the season being like, that dude's the first baseman for the Detroit Tigers. He's a good player. He hits 5th, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's do Tyler Soderstrom. We've talked about him a little bit on this show. He is up to 6 home runs, I believe, which is, I think, tied with Aaron Judge. Or I guess is Judge up to 7 now? I've lost track. Tyler Soderstrom of the A's of Sacramento. The YOLO A's, the biggest slugger for the YOLO A's so far has not been Lawrence Butler or Brent Rooker. It has been Tyler Soderstrom. Jake, where are you on Mr. Soderstrom?
So this was a player that I have off air been vocal to you as a non-believer.
As an atheist, yes.
I would have described myself as an atheist in regards to Tyler Soderstrom before the season. I was very out. I thought that given the other first base DH options swirling around A's land, that he would get lost in the shuffle, kind of go to AAA purgatory and never fulfill his promise. So far, I look like something of an idiot. The way that he has done this, great article at Fangraphs yesterday by Ben Clemens about Tyler Soderstrom and how he is simply pulling the ball in the air more when the pitches are inside closer to him and hitting it the other way when they are away from him. I know that sounds very simple, like something you would tell a 9-year-old, but it is easier said than done. All of that being said, I remain a skeptic. And I remain a skeptic because I need to see him fail and rebound again. I need to see him get cold. I need to see pitchers adjust to his new approach, as they will, as they always do. And I need to see him readjust before I become a believer.
I am a believer, and that is because the buzz on this guy coming up when he kind of got to the big leagues fairly quickly, and then he did fail initially. It was very ugly in 2023. He did make meaningful steps forward last year. It got lost because of the Butler and Rooker, breakouts. And so he is just very quietly trended in the right direction. Now, obviously, going from slugging 240 to slugging 429 to slugging 771. Do I think he's now going to slug 1,000 next year? No. But this is another one with pedigree that I do think he is going to be here's a very simple way to put it. I think he will absolutely be a top 3 hitter on this team by the end of the season.
Okay.
Maybe even top 2.
Because something that you heard a lot about Tyler Soderstrom, and you hear this about prospects, scouts will be like, that guy can hit. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the end of the conversation a lot of times, where if a player is more flawed or there's more doubt around the hit tool, people will then pick apart various other aspects of their profile, whether that's defense or speed or approach. You didn't really hear that as much with Soderstrom when he was going good. It was like, this guy will hit, doesn't matter where he plays, and nothing else matters. He is a person who knows how to hit. That to me is both encouraging and discouraging, because if he doesn't hit, there's nothing else. There's no fallback action here.
And where he fits in the depth chart remains very interesting. But if he keeps hitting like this, they will find a place for him. Who do you want to do next? You want to do a pitcher?
Well, you have Pete Alonso on this list.
I do.
Please explain, because Pete Alonso been good. Second most home runs in the world since 2019, behind only Aharon Judge. Mm-hmm. So why is he here?
He is here because he is striking out less than 10% of the time. His average exit velocity so far is nearly 100. And this looks like, in this small sample, the best version of Pete Alonso we've ever seen. From a process standpoint and from an underlying standpoint, the production has also been there. And that is the thing that I'm bringing to the table. And I am going to start off and say, I am going to consider myself an evangelist here from the standpoint of, we've been screaming all winter. No, did I think that Pete was going to bounce back from a 788 OPS to over 1,100 this year? Maybe not necessarily. But we were everybody was overthinking Pete to a ridiculous degree.
Yes.
And I the fact that he just shows up and hits even at a decently above average level for 162 games was underrated from the beginning. And this is not like someone like Tyler Soderstrom, where it's like, if he hits it, we know what Pete is going to be at the floor. And if he is now reminding us of the ceiling, which we have seen at other points in his career, should make a lot of teams who should have paid this extremely low price for a very good first baseman feel extremely foolish for him to be a part of this Mets line, an extremely important part of this Mets line.
Preach.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. I'm
evangelize.
I will. I will keep telling people. Again, to your point, it's a little silly because, as you said, everyone knows that Pete Alonso is good and hits a lot of home runs. And I don't think he's going to have a 9% strikeout rate at the end of the season. But I think he is going to put in a one hell of a year here that is just going to be like, oh, wait, should have just given Pete Alonso even more money.
You're doubling down on your faith.
Yeah, that's really what.
Like you went on like a weekend retreat and read some good stuff.
Yes, exactly. So I'm all in on Pete this year. I think he's going to be awesome.
I'm just a believer, and partially that's because I want to give you space to evangelize.
That's fine. I appreciate that. Let's go to a pitcher. Let's go to Hunter Greene. Hunter Greene is, I believe, all right.
All in.
Take it away.
Scream it.
Take it away.
Scream it from the mountaintops. Mm-hmm. Tell your friends and tell their friends, even if they don't want to hear it. Hunter Greene looks so freaking good.
Tell Foolish Bailey. Now, Hunter Greene was a popular regression pick after last year, after he finally, he made an all-star team. But his ERA was, almost a run lower than his FIP. You said, that BABIP was way too low. He can't do that again. But the reality is, if anything, what Hunter Greene has always been has been hard to hit. Yes, when the ball has been hit, oftentimes it has been in the air and sometimes over the fence in his tiny ballpark that he plays in. But, I mean, like, what he's looking like right now, it's like, yeah, of course. this is what he's supposed. He's been working towards this, and he looks awesome. So it sounds like you're all in. You're gonna be pushing him for NL Cy Young in a few months.
Absolutely. I mean, I think part of the reason I believe so much is that the walk rate has more than halved, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I think for Hunter Greene, when you're looking from an outcome perspective at what's kind of the next level, whether that's maintaining the value that he was FIP-wise, right? He's outperforming his peripherals last season. How does he then make that, like what his outcome was, match? It was either upping the ground ball rate or it was walking fewer people. Those are kind of the two things he does not do well.
Yep.
Upping the ground ball rate is always going to be hard just because of the type of pitcher he is, right? He's not throwing sinkers down in the strike zone. He's trying to throw a four seam by you, blow your doors off, take a seat. Thanks for coming out. So especially in that park, that's a dangerous way to live, but that's just how he's built. So the ground ball rate is still where it was last year. Meanwhile, the walk rate is in half. And I believe that to be sustainable because, again, he's 25. He is 25 years old still. He is outrageously athletic. And the more pitching Hunter Greene does while still being a 25-year-old ball of youth, he is going to get better and learn how to do this activity more and more. I am all in. Give me a pedestal to scream from
in the town square.
Podium. Send me up to the dais. Yes. I'm in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. No further notes. Your point about those are the two options, and I'm sure it is a lot easier for him to just throw more strikes when your stuff is that good than it is to because if he gives up a bunch of solo home runs, that's fine. But if no one's ever on base, the ERA is going to be really low, Bingo. And he's gonna win a bunch of games. So,
and we've seen this with similar types of pitchers like Garrett Cole or Justin Verlander,
sure,
where they'll give them up. They give up a lot of solo home runs. Go look at Garrett Cole, even peak Garrett Cole, peak Justin Verlander. They're still allowing the long ball.
Yeah.
It's just that there's no one on base because they don't walk anybody.
Yep.
Now, the one
concern
here in theory,
they don't allow hits.
Right. There are not people on base when the ball goes over the fence. And for Hunter Greene, the one concern, right, is as the season wears on and the stuff maybe goes down a tick because pitching is tiring and it's 162 games. If he's throwing
100 miles an hour, right?
So he's literally averaging 99.5 right now.
He touched
0.4.
He touched 101 in the ninth inning the other day.
Right. That maybe doesn't happen in July. Mm-hmm. And so if he's going to work that much in the strike zone and the stuff goes down a tick, maybe it does get hit harder. That's just something to keep an eye on. I'm just buying the athlete and the arm and the package here moving forward. Foolish Bailey, what are you even doing, man? Hang him up.
I thought you knew ball. Let's do a couple more. I definitely want your take on Mr. Ben Rice. And the reason I want your take on Mr. Ben Rice, I love this. We got an email from Mitchell. And I just love this because, we get a lot of great emails, baseballbarbacast@gmail.com. And we get very long emails and like awesome stories. And they're awesome. I love this.
My
from Mitchell.
favorite emails are the shortest emails.
I just because it's like, I love that Mitchell was just like, he had to share this with someone. He had to ask someone. And it's a very simple email. He just says, is it just me or does Ben Rice look like a legitimate star? Right? He probably watched Ben Rice hit another home run and he's like looking around. I don't know if he was watching, but he's just like, are we seeing this? Is everybody looking at this? Like, is this legit that Ben Rice is, and again, he's another one where a lot of the underlying stuff looks so good. He's got his 100th percentile hit rate and 100th percentile average exit velocity. He is I think the funniest part is that a lot of this stuff, it looks like a really good version of Giancarlo Stanton, their actual DH. And he is doing a nice impression of it from the left side as the fill-in while Giancarlo's elbows get better.
So if you head over to Twitter and you go to your least favorite baseball commentator at Jake_Mintz and you scroll back to February 13th, you will see the following tweet. The Ben Rice hype train is fully engaged. Dude put on at least 3 stone of muscle over the winter. Looks like an SUV.
So, and that is obviously translated. The raw power grades are way up there. He's still striking out a good bit, but he's also drawing his walks. So where are you at? That sounds like you're going to be evangelizing all summer long. Is that correct? No,
I am not an evangelist.
Okay.
I think where I was at the end of last year. So Ben Rice comes up last year and he's good for like a month. And producer Andrew Hartz, when asked who has the 3rd best OPS plus on the team for the second half after Judge and Stanton, he said Ben Rice. And that was just a horrible pick because Ben Rice, by the end, was not playing. He did not play in the playoffs really at all. He was around. I can't even remember if he was on the roster.
He was on the roster, right?
He was around. He was a non-character.
Yeah.
He was a non-character, right? And he puts on some poundage and he comes to camp and he looks huge and he's hitting the crap out of the ball. I now think that Ben Rice is like a big league DH. Like for sure. Like his bat is going to play in the big leagues.
Believer.
Is he a star?
Yeah.
Is he a star? I don't know. Okay. I don't know if I'm ready to call him a star.
Yeah.
Now, he had one moment that was like, that's a star. And he took AJ Puck deep, left on left. Puck is just a tough look for any left-handed hitter. Weird angle, tons of gas. He took a middle in, not a great pitch, middle in fastball out off AJ Puck. And that was like, okay, that is not something that I think Ben Rice could have done last year. And when you look at the bat speed metrics, which I do think are important and revealing, he has the 3rd highest year-over-year bat speed jump so far this season, right? Behind Jesse Winker.
Yeah, that tells me more that he was probably very injured for most last season. Even when he was playing well, he's just always hurt.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Jesse Winker and Nolan Shanuel, who we talked about in the first chunk, right? So I'm buying that the upgrade in bat speed and strength is allowing him to get to pitches on the inner half, catch up to velo, hit the ball hard to the pull side. He's had a couple interesting batted balls that are like on pitches away that he's like gone with it. He's showcased another level of strength I didn't think he had last year. Is he a star? Let's see. But I am a believer in Ben Rice, Major League Baseball player.
Okay. I'm going to be, this should be illegal to have a podcast about baseball and have an agnostic take about a Yankee, but I'm going to do that. And the reason why I'm doing it is this is me being a coward and covering my ass because I do not want to say that this guy is a fraud. But I also, it's so over the top right now that I am also do not want to catch myself being like falling for it almost again to a certain degree.
That's the thing. He hit 3 homers in a game last year and everyone lost their collective mind. And then
what did,
wasn't on the playoff roster.
That said, what was my Yankees bold prediction? Ben Rice 4-homer game. So the fact that he is looking as good as he has right now, that makes me feel better about that. And I'm still rooting for that.
Yeah.
However, on the whole, because he still has not faced that much major league pitching, and because when you swing and miss as often as you do, not that you can't succeed while whiffing, as we know. Again, Giancarlo Stanton, like they're a good Aaron Judge, like you can be a very good hitter while striking out a lot.
Yeah,
I don't think we've seen enough to where pitchers have adjusted to him and found the holes yet. But I agree with you. signs this year, very encouraging. Let's pick 2 or 3 more.
Sure.
Let's do another pitcher.
Sure.
Where do we want to go?
I don't even want to do Spencer Schwellenbach because I'm like beyond evangelizing. Like for him, I'm a zealot.
Yeah.
For him, I'm willing to like shed blood.
Right.
I'm willing to put my life on the line.
I'm pretty close to that too. And of course, the timing, he was awesome again last night.
Like he's going to get Cy Young votes. Like I know it's early and that's an outrageous thing to say. Spencer Schwellenbach, they're just going to, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And you know, we've talked about him since he came out last year, but he is just the perfect story of everything you would bet on for that late blooming superstar, right? Like Jacob deGrom is the best version of this, the college shortstop who has kind of the smooth athleticism and aptitude to translate into this star as a pitcher. Schwellenbach, it's happened even faster than what it did for deGrom at the major league level. The fact that he's throwing all these different pitches, but that's the guy. He was a two-way player in college, mostly a shortstop in Nebraska, and now it's just and most importantly, right? He has ended up in an organization that is clearly very good at this kind of development, and that is why he is just in such a good spot. So I mean, that's not even really a hot take.
Jordan,
yeah,
how do you feel about Keibert Ruiz?
Keibert Ruiz, this is one, I think we talked about him at length after opening weekend. He had that amazing at-bat and home run against Zach Wheeler. He's someone, when we previewed the Nationals, you were beyond out on. You were closer to the mesotheism, if even possible. But the problem is at that point, that was most people were kind of out, right? Because his defensive metrics were so bad because he seemed to exhibit zero power indicators, even though he was able to put the bat on the ball. Great story at the Washington Post this week from Spencer Nussbaum, one of their beat writers, alongside our good friend Andrew Golden, talking about Keibert and kind of the things that have changed and the things that are still the same. Some of the struggles on defense. One thing that I did not know about Ruiz is that he switched to one knee down catching at the middle of last year, and it did get a lot better down the stretch. He was so bad in the first half that he's still ranked as by far the worst receiver in baseball. But that is a tangible change that has helped the defense a little bit. And he's at least shown some level more of impact. Now, he is not swinging the bat harder. You know, you mentioned Ben Rice. The bat speed has not necessarily changed. To me, the reason I am willing to approach Believer is that the underlying skills of making contact allow for, if you can even make marginal gains, same thing with Nolan Schanuel, except are arguably even more extreme, you can get to above average hitter fairly quickly. And for the position of catcher where the bar of offense is so low, I think that there is actually a not so impossible path to being an above average catcher for someone who certainly had pedigree as a top prospect who is still in his mid-20s. So consider me a tepid believer, leaning towards believer, want to be a believer. Okay. I have a feeling you're still a skeptic.
I entered the year as an atheist.
Yes.
I entered this podcast as an atheist.
Yeah.
And you just pushed me to skeptic.
Right.
I have to say.
I'm proud
just because the bar for catching offense is so low. Now, I remain skeptical, borderline mesotheist on both sides of the profile. Like, I understand that the one knee down helped him. I still think he's bad at catching.
Fair.
And I think that even though the contact skills are amazing, there's been no notable uptick in exit velocity or bat speed, even though he has, I believe, 2 homers and a 934 ops.
Yeah.
If there were legitimate reasons to believe in improvement, like sustained improvement on either side of the ball, just give me one of the two, I would then be in the middle. But I just remain a skeptic because I don't know how real the two sides are, right? That's totally just kind of where I'm at.
Totally fair.
Let's do
one
more. Kind of speed run a couple.
Yeah, go for
it. Jung Hoo Lee.
Believer.
I'm a believer. Getting close to evangelist. Shouts out to the hooligans. We'll talk a little bit about them later, maybe. Jung Hoo Lee's cheering section.
Yes.
All in. Curious how he continues to fare against high velocity. I think he struggled a little bit with that. But he's not really getting swings and misses in the zone. Like, that's the whole thing. He's making a lot of contact. He's playing in great center field.
Too. So
yeah, and he's hitting the ball with some pretty decent juice. Wilyer Abreu.
Mm-hmm.
Wilyer Abreu, I'm going to remain lower than the field on.
Okay.
And that is nothing against Abreu. It's just the platoon concerns remain for me, where he only has, I believe, 6 plate appearances against lefties so far this year. I'm curious to see if the Red Sox... Go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, this is fair because I have a retort as to why you would be a hater in this respect. But I finished the point because I think it's a valid one.
Yeah, it's just how high is the ceiling for a player who can hit lefties?
Yes.
The answer is Kerry Carpenter, who basically did this last season.
And Wilyer Abreu plays damn good defense, which Kerry Carpenter does not. And has a laser beam.
Of course.
And so even if he is not, at the level of Carpenter against righties, if it's 80% of that with way better defense, that's a similar player, if not even more valuable.
Of course. And I would like him on my team, don't get me wrong. And I would classify myself as a believer. I just think, and this is true with Carpenter too, there's just a ceiling to what that player can be. Yep. When they're only going to finish the year with 400 and some plate appearances.
100%.
That's all I'm saying about Abreu. Damn good ball player. Put him on my team. I'm curious to see if they start giving him more opportunities against left-handed pitching. I have Nick Castellanos on this list because heading into last night, his strikeout to walk ratio was even. And then he went 0 for 5 last night with 5 Ks. And so I am just, now it looks normal. And so we
well, you know who he has to thank for that. Spencer Schwellenbach. The 2 others I just wanted to mention before we take a break. One is George Springer.
I don't know. Agnostic.
Okay.
I'm opting out of that.
Okay. Because he has just been slowly trending in the wrong direction. Of course, he's getting older. Like, guys, that kind of athlete, as they go in their mid-30s, it's nothing surprising. He looks big time rejuvenated, but I'll probably also stick with you in as an agnostic for now. And then the last one I just want to mention, just because it's timely, is Chris Bubich of the Kansas City Royals. Ask me next week. I will be seeing him tonight face the Cleveland Guardians in his 3rd start. He has looked fantastic so far. He was great in the bullpen coming off of surgery last year. Now he's just very important because we talked about the Royals as like, can this rotation do it again? Chris Bubich is a new character in that rotation. So if he can step up and maybe cover for some of the likely even some regression for Waka, for Lugo, for Reagans, that would be a huge deal for the Kansas City Royals. So Bubich, I hope I am a believer when we talk on Monday. We could do this all day.
Thank you.
This was a great segment. I enjoyed the segment. I don't know if we'll run this back again at some point, but we'll certainly do it in early April next year. So
I'm a believer.
I'm a believer. If there's anyone else that we missed that you have strong feelings about, or do you disagree with us on, let us know. baseballbarbacast@gmail.com.
I guarantee you someone who listens to this pod is like a religion professor at like Wesleyan or Sewanee
100%.
or something.
Yeah,
and
is there another...
We're going to get an email like, you dudes are butchering Misotheist, or you're misunderstanding what it means to be an agnostic. Whatever. Sorry. We did our best.
Give us that feedback so that we can make this segment even better next time. Yeah, I would appreciate
love
that.
feedback. Like, I love emails, dude, where people are like, you said this name wrong, or
yes.
I thought what you said wasn't cool. Like, hell yeah.
Good.
That's great.
I mean,
constructive criticism goes hard.
Listening, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, it's the good, the bad, and the ugla. We'll be right back on Baseball Barbacast.
And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast, a podcast that believes in you, the listener. It is time for the good, the bad, and the ugla. It is Friday. That is how we decide, we choose, we opt to end every week. Tonight, I will light the candles for Shabbat. But for me, the good, the bad, the ugla marks the end to another week on this beautiful spinning globe. One thing that is good, one thing that is bad, and one thing that reminds us of Dan Uggla, that singular presence of a ball player. Jordan Shusterman, can you get us started? I'm a believer.
My good this week is Jack Caglione hitting a ball 120 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Mr. Cags, the top prospect for the Kansas City Royals, who was a first-round pick last year, Legendary college career at the University of Florida. And boy, do those Gators miss him. They are not very good.
Yeah.
But Kaggs has truly legendary raw power. That has been true since he was in high school. But now it is on the minor league stage, but likely soon to be the big league stage. And this is why this is good. This is very simple. I know we did a conversation about, that high school pitcher throwing 102, and there's only so many left-handers that throw 102 miles an hour. That's true. We explained why that was maybe not good because of how that skill can age and what it means for, health and whatever. However, if you can hit a ball 120 miles an hour, that is a skill that is, again, repeatable and not bad for your health, maybe bad for the defense's health. Let's make sure everyone stays safe out there. But people need to understand this is something that only 5 players have done in the major leagues. Only 2 have done it multiple times. And so if he becomes one of those players to do it in the major leagues, that is putting him in a very small group. Do you know the list of players, Jake? Since 2015, the StatCast era. Oh, you already looked it up.
No, I literally I have it already on StatHead and was going to click search, so I won't, and I'll just give it a go.
Right.
I believe the only 2 players to do it multiple times are Stanton and O'Neal Cruz.
Correct. That is correct. Giancarlo Stanton has done this 16 times, which is so preposterous when you talk about how rare this is. But anyway, he's done it 16 times. O'Neal Cruz has done it 5 times, which is also wild.
Okay.
There are 3 other batters, again, StatCast era 2015. Maybe Barry Bonds did this at one point. I can't tell you. But 2015, 3 other players have done it once apiece. What are your guesses?
I'll say Judge.
Judge has done it once. Yes.
I'll say Nelson Cruz.
Good guess, but that is wrong.
He got pretty close. Daniel Palka, also another fun guess.
Yes. Palka, I think,
also
maxed at like 117 or 118. Yeah.
Schwarber?
No, I think Schwarber's also maxed at like 118 or so. Again, another context, right? Remember, StatCast considers 95 miles an hour to be hard hit. In my head, 110 is like the equivalent of 115 is like the equivalent of like throwing 100 in terms of like the rarity. Like there's a smaller number of players that can hit a ball 110. Basically, every single major leaguer can hit a ball 100 miles an hour exit velocity. 110 is a smaller list. 115 is an even smaller list. And as we know, 120 is the smallest list. 2 other guys besides Judge.
2 other guys besides Judge. I will give myself a handful more guesses. I will go with Ellie.
No, I think he's at like 118. I think he might have done 120 in the minors, though. So that's a good guess.
I will go with Ronald.
Acuna is correct.
Okay.
Acuna in 2023... 121.2 mile an hour home run off of Emmett Sheehan. Judge's was 121.1 miles an hour off of Chris Tillman in 2017.
And then my last guess is Ohtani.
It is not Ohtani. I believe Ohtani is at 119. It is Gary Sanchez. Gary Sanchez. Wow.
The opposite of Ohtani.
2018. So maybe he will do it again for the Orioles. I think what's funny is that O'Neal Cruz... So Caglione, by the way, his was a grounder. I think it was just a single. O'Neal, all 5 of his, none of them have been home runs. Giancarlo, of the 16, it seems that only 2 of them were home runs. So kind of the low laser beams. But yes, 120 is very special, and that is why it is my good.
Jung Hoo Lee, who is mentioned earlier, will never hit a ball 120 miles an hour. It will not happen.
Not going to happen.
If it does happen, I'm concerned for the sport, honestly.
I'm concerned about his bat. I'm concerned about the baseball. I'm concerned about his PED intake, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Still a good player. You don't need to hit a ball that hard to be that good. But the reason I've picked him for my good is because he now has his own grassroots cheering section. This is an article at MLB.com by Maria Guardado, who covers the Giants over there. This was during the game, I think it was on Tuesday, where the hooligans.
So good.
So good.
Just like, it's almost
hooligans.
like, it's almost like
too good.
How did, right. Like I wish I could be there when whoever came up with this, like looked at each other like,
the hooligans. Now, The hooligans, I'm just going to read directly so I don't get this important stuff wrong. The hooligans, a group of 51 fans, a nod to his jersey number, earned plenty of screen time on the scoreboard after wearing matching white t-shirts, which they said hooligans, and fire-inspired wigs. Lee said he didn't see the group since they were sitting in the third deck, but he appreciated the wave of support. The Giants made a Jung Hoo Lee cheering section this year called the Jung Hoo Crew.
Oh, so this is like an alt situation.
Yes,
very punk rock of them.
It was. They were like, we love and respect the Jung Hoo Crew, but us hooligans, we're separate. Okay,
they're the evangelists. This is the difference between the evangelists and the believers.
The Jung Hoo Crew, thank you for your service, but the hooligans are on the forefront. They are the vanguard.
So I have so many questions about, maybe some of these are answered. The 51 part is the thing I'm hung up on.
Best part.
So how did
there was an interview on the broadcast, I think, with them, or someone tweeted an interview. I can't remember, but it was like they talked about how I think they counted a couple babies, like people brought their babies, and so those counted.
This is part of my question because, like, let's say I want in. Let's say I want to profess my. It will require someone to either not show up or like kind of step down. Is what I'm.
Sure, it's like being a Freemason. Okay.
Yeah.
They gotta let you in. Neither of us were in fraternities in college. I imagine maybe this is what that's like. You also have to pledge to be a hooligan.
I'm just so grateful that he wears 51. It's the perfect number of people in a cheering section. Like it's a hilarious. It's small enough, like if we wore number 8, like.
But if you were 50, it would be like that. Okay. But like the 51st hooligan.
This is so good. Oh man, I have so many more questions about this. Anyway, he's great. He's leading.
If you are whoever came up with this, if you were there, if you are listening,
are you one of 51?
There,
are you one of 51?
If you are one of 51, or even you're not one of 51, but you were in attendance, you were present for the moment of ideological conception where hooligans as a thing was brought into this world. If you were in attendance, please come on the podcast and just recount that beautiful moment for
Here's
us.
The other funniest part is that like the Giants, as you mentioned, had come up with Jung Hoo Crew, which is fine. That's good. That's solid, right?
That's a single the other way.
And then but you can imagine like they saw the hooligan and someone in Giants marketing's like, damn it. The
worst is
what do we think about that?
If the Giants had hooligans on a list somewhere,
right,
and they chose Jung Hoo Crew.
Oh man, this is amazing. All right, anyway, please contact us. All right, let's go to bad.
Yeah,
surprise, the Chicago White Sox. I did not stay for the 2 games that I attended because it was cold and I had better things to do, including helping my wife with her dead car.
Got it.
This team is so bad. They didn't lose 8 in a row last year until like the end of May, and they have already accomplished that this year. It bums me out because I want, I do believe Will Venable is a better steward of this undermanned ship than Pedro Grifol. However, and by the way, there are some good things happening, especially on the mound. Shane Smith, good pitcher, really good pitcher. Michael Bauman wrote a great thing in Fangraphs about Shane Smith. But they were historically bad last year because their offense was historically bad. And I think it might be historically bad again this year. So maybe the pitching will, and luck and karma will have them only lose 108 games instead of 121. But it's bleak and I am bummed. But hopefully Chase Mydroth can help 2%.
Good buddy of mine from college who lives in Detroit and mostly just watches the Tigers sent me this text this week. Finishing up the Tigers game from today. Holy crap. Clevenger looks like crap, like concerning for his health. That's the thing. Got to get Mike Clevenger out of there first and foremost.
Yeah.
How bad is the clubhouse culture on the White Sox? They give the vibe they take a bus with no AC to all their games.
And again, like I should mention how they lost, which was a Mike Clevenger implosion on Tuesday, which was just like 5 straight walks or 4 straight walks, walking in the run. And then on Wednesday, they
Never
have
seen this before.
Against Clase, they like string a couple hits together to like come back, single to left. Mike Talkman is coming in as the tying run.
Second and third, he's coming in from second. Rounds third, going to be like a bang bang play, but it looks like he's going to be safe.
Looks like he's going to be
Stephen Kwan comes up throwing, and the camera cuts back to home, and there's Talkman like waddling, limping his way towards home. Screwed up his hamstring. He probably would have scored. Instead, he can't run anymore.
And it's it's a limp off, walk off. And again, it was like
no
when
one was
Kwan
happy.
makes the throw, it's like, oh my God, he's going to get thrown out. And what an embarrassing way to lose. And then somehow it was 500 times worse.
Yeah.
So just
the only thing
brutal. It's so brutal.
The only thing I can remember that's anything like this is when Ryan Howard tore his Achilles on the final play of a playoff series. But it wasn't like that was going to be a bang bang play at first.
There are a lot more people in that game. I can tell you that. Anyway, the White Sox are bad. Surprise, surprise. What's your bad?
First of all, I'm going to start with the good. Okay. The wonderful folks at Yahoo Sports' social media crew, in regards to the Cody Bellinger chicken wings fiasco, made a graphic with Cody Bellinger, and all it says is bad wings. Usually you see like traded or, suspended,
released,
injured.
retired.
It just says bad wings.
Fired.
Great job, everyone.
Yeah,
love it.
Great work.
This is an article from our colleague, Jack Baer, about how Cody Bellinger, quote, swears off chicken wings for 5 years after food poisoning at hotel. On our last episode, we gave Cody Bellinger some kudos for posting a picture of chicken wings after he got food poisoning, saying round 2. It turns out that picture he posted was just like some stock photo of chicken wings, and that Bellinger said that he woke up at 4 a.m. sweating. They were good coming in, not on the way out, and that he, quote, can say I will not eat wings for 5 years. I swear, because the thought of it right now makes me sick. And I respect Cody Bellinger's taste buds and his stomach and his appetite and all that. But my guy, the only way past is through. Face your fears. Wrestle your demons. You cannot live and produce as an athlete knowing in the back of your head that a kryptonite is out there. What happens, say, it's, the ALDS, and it's the bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, and Emmanuel Clase, instead of reaching maybe for some rosin or pine tar, has a little bit of buffalo sauce in his pocket, and he puts it on the ball.
Probably not.
I don't know. But Cody Bellinger
better be ready.
Gets a whiff of that stuff, and he's cooked. We can't fold now, Cody. You, me, go on hot ones. Cody Bellinger, go on hot ones. Face your fears.
My prediction is that will happen as like a
bit.
redemption. Like,
can we get
Yankees? It would probably require like the Yankees to like win the World Series, or like him to like have another postseason moment to kind of get back into the mainstream. Because I don't think they're just pulling Cody Bellinger off in the middle of the season to do it. But
so
I like this.
We don't bet. We don't really gamble, especially obviously not on baseball because we can't. Not allowed. I would like to get some odds on will Cody Bellinger eat a chicken wing in the next 5 years. Because I would 100% hammer the over.
Yeah. I might even say 5 months. He will give in. Cody Bellinger also not very good so far this season. All right.
He hasn't really been playing as much as you think because he was having his stomach destroyed by chicken
fair
wings.
enough. All right. Uggla. Jake Mintz in 2012. Dan Uggla.
That was the year.
Led the National League in walks. With 94, Dan Uggla walked 94 times. So this Uggla is indeed related to Uggla because my Uggla is the Dunedin Blue Jays walking 22 times in one game. This box score is an atrocity. The Dunedin Blue Jays defeated the Jupiter Hammerheads 19-5 earlier this week. They scored 19 runs on 9 hits, which included 7 bases loaded walks that they drew. This included, this is an amazing thing. Their team drew 22 walks. Okay.
Okay.
And they won.
I have a point to make.
This is low A baseball. It ain't pretty. On the other side, Starlin Caba, top prospect for the Miami Marlins, went 0 for 0 with 5 walks. So the guy that went 0 for 0 with 5 walks was not on the team that walked 22 times. That feels ugly.
Can I push back on something? I think when you reach a certain number of walks,
the game's
you did
over.
Not draw those walks.
Okay.
They happened to you. I think
that's true.
As a team,
is a good point.
A team can draw 15 walks. A team is walked 22 times. I think the language is important.
Yeah, totally fair. The 2 other quick ugly things about this.
I just like the idea, Jordan, that all of these walks were on balls just off the plate. And like the Dunedin Blue Jays were just Juan Sotoing their way to 22 walks. Where in reality, these Marlins minor leaguers were just yeeting the ball all over the yard.
Major league record for walks in a game in a 9-inning game is 18, which was Cleveland in 1948 and Detroit in 1916. The record in a minor league game was 21. And so this broke the record. Woo. The wild thing about that, or 20, sorry. The wild thing about that is that was only 2 years ago. And Fayetteville, who walked 20 batters, won the game. Which is like, that's really just like only possible in Division III baseball, I would say. But they did it. So anyway, Dunedin, totally fair point. Were they drawing the walks? Were they being walked? Either way, it is as ugly as it gets. Oh, and then the other funny thing about this is that it was all in the first 7 innings. The last pitcher that pitched for Jupiter pitched 2 innings and did not walk anybody. So that was 22 walks in 7 innings. So pretty ugly.
All right.
What you got? What's your ugly? Finish us off. It's been a long pod. Good pod.
Good pod. Great pod. Thank you. Good job.
Good pod.
Bryce Harper hit a home run on Wednesday. Yes. It was a 2-run shot that gave the Phillies a late lead, a lead they would eventually cough up and then retake on a Trey Turner homer. If you look closely, Bryce Harper hits his home run, touches home plate, and then while walking back to the dugout, kind of does this bizarre little hop skip that I've never seen him do before. Almost like he was avoiding, the way I would describe it is there's poop on the sidewalk, dog poop on the sidewalk, and you see it late. You know that little hop skip you do?
Oh, almost stepped in poop.
I saw that, and I was like, that is weird.
Yeah.
That is super weird. What was that about?
Was there poop on the field?
No poop on the field.
Okay. I was like, whoa.
There was,
feel like
however,
I would have seen that.
On the field, behind home plate at Truist Park, a Braves logo, an A logo in the dirt behind home plate.
Yeah.
They put a cutout of the A down and then water the area behind home and then take it off so the dirt's a different color. Right?
Yeah.
In 2014, Bryce Harper, when playing the Braves as a national and being booed, swiped his foot across the Braves A logo behind home plate 3 times in a game and was criticized heavily. There's a clip of it.
Classic.
You can watch it. They talked about it on Sunday Night Baseball. It was like, is Bryce breaking the rules?
Classic
is
2014
Bryce bad for
Bryce.
baseball? Classic 2014 Bryce. And he swiped his foot and it became a whole thing. And last night, after he homered, he was so close to accidentally swiping his foot, stepping on the logo, and he does a little hop, skip, and a jump to get out of the way. I had friend of the program, Matt Gelb, Phillies writer for The Athletic. As soon as I saw this, I knew exactly what it was. I sent it to him. I had him ask Bryce about it after the game. Bryce confirmed he was trying to avoid the logo. I have not seen this anywhere else online. I'm thinking about tweeting about it. So ugly, so great. A story coming full circle, an example of personal growth. Good for you, Bryce Harper.
That is tremendous. An amazing way to end this episode of Baseball Barbacast. As for the weekend ahead, the 2 series that I am most interested in, I will be attending KC Cleveland tonight, maybe tomorrow. Well, at least pregame tomorrow because it's the Seder. Cubs Dodgers. So that'll be fun. Cubs have obviously been scoring a bunch of runs. Cubs, yeah, more Cubs Dodgers. And then Giants in New York. I know you're home for Passover, so you will not be at those games. But Giants, as we know, off to a good start. And it'll be interesting to see how they do against the Yankees, who are coming off kind of a not so awesome series in Detroit.
I'm compelled by Angels-Astros. We talked about the Angels a lot. I want to see them prove it against a theoretically better opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Diamondbacks-Brewers, two teams that feel like they are always playing in the NLDS
really
somehow.
Yeah.
It's funny because it always feels like they're playing the NLDS, but it never feels like either of them are in the NLCS. Even though I know that's not true. I know that neither of those things are true. And then I'm also intrigued by Rays Braves, just because, like, how good are these teams? I still don't know. The Braves, huge win last night, but I want to see a little bit more from them. And then the last big rivalry showdown this weekend is Jake versus Matza.
Oh,
who you got?
Is that a contentious relationship?
Matza.
Oh, okay.
Don't love Matza.
I imagine you will have some. The last one I'll mention is the Mets going to Sacramento. The YOLO A's have allowed a lot of runs at home, and the Mets offense has not been awesome so far. And it'll be interesting to see if they can finally score some runs against the YOLO A's. All right, we're done. A long pod, great pod, Friday pod. This was so much fun. Thank you, Jake Mintz. Thank you to TJ stepping in as the pinch producer.
I'm an evangelist when it comes to TJ.
When it comes to TJ. Oh, man. TJ's got us covered. Thank you to TJ for producing. And we'll be back on Monday. Everyone have a good weekend. Email us, baseballbarbacast@gmail.com.